Well, okay, Small Axe people, Small Axe community. It's your boy. It's me. It's Nico. Here I am today. I just got off a meeting with my buddy Emeka, and what we did today was we did a 30, 40 minute, I don't even know what it was, podcast where we just discussed what we do on a day-to-day basis. Today we had the opportunity to go look at a property. So what you're going to hear on today's podcast is me and Emeka, my buddy, my partner, down in Lakeland, Florida, talking about how we look at deals, and you can hopefully gain some insight into how you should be looking at deals, or maybe even teach us how we should be looking at deals differently. But there's a lot of information you're going to learn from this podcast. So stay tuned, tune in, love life, and enjoy it, and share it with somebody that you think could get value. Love you. Hey guys, it's your boy Nico here from the Small Axe Podcast. I want to show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. You see, not everybody begins their investing career with millions of dollars, a huge network of investors, or the knowledge necessary to become successful in this space, and that's okay. What I focus on here on this podcast is helping you hone your skills, sharpen your tools to become the best investor that you can be. Now, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me or the guest, feel free to do so. Love you guys.
You got some underwriting for us today, Nico?
All right, Captain Emeka, let's do it. So you just went out and toured a property, kind of, that we have very limited information on. We're not going to be talking about the property in specific because it is a listed property, it's active, and we're not supposed to do that. But we're going to talk a little bit about our process, how we look at these deals, what we do, etc.
Yes, sir. And I got some information from today, so it'll be good.
All right, go for it. So this property, all these properties pop up from brokers, or we find them online and then we reach out to the brokers. And this one in particular it's got it's a mix of like mobile homes, et cetera. It's got like a single family, maybe even a duplex on there. And it's got over 3 acres in the market in Lakeland where we like to look.
So
sitting for a while. So go for it.
Yeah, so it has been sitting for a while. It's been sitting for 845 days. So it's crazy. It's over 2 years. They've listed it for 2 prices, 1.7 and 1.5. And the area is very nice. There's, apartments across the street that's going to be built. I'll pull them up as we speak. But, they just built some A-class workforce housing as well. I did say A-class workforce housing because they built it around a lake and there is amenities. I showed Nico. That's kind of crazy. So when it comes from a location standpoint, it's great. We don't plan on selling it the next year. So Lakeland is growing tremendously. I'll probably cut out that city. But, it's growing, this area is growing tremendously. And, in the future, the value should work out in our favor if the price is right.
Well, that's the thing. I just looked at what you sent me. There's developments going on around there. And this property has over 3 acres in a 100+ median income area. So over $100,000. This is a high median income area. This is going to be likely a developer will take this property on at some point. So
100%.
Absolutely. At the minimum, so what our objective would be with something like this is to get it to cash flow, have it make sense for us where it's cash flowing for us. God forbid we wouldn't be able to sell it down the road. At least it's cash flowing. But in this scenario, this is a huge opportunity to get something that if we can make it at the right price when it's cash flowing, I guarantee within 2 years, once development picks up even more, as supply is starting to get constrained, in 2 years, a developer is going to come at us on a property like this with a good offer.
Exactly. And like I said, 3.3 acres is a lot of property, as well as they're expanding the road as well. So apparently the city and the county have told them, give them notifications that they're going to expand. And the city or county is not going to just do that unless there's number one, increased traffic or a very specific reason. And I know the architect group who are help designing the apartments across the street. They built a lot of other apartments around the city as well. So it's great value add, but as Nico's mentioned, it just has to make sense.
Emeka, what about, remember you pointed out something that we all need to be considering and worried about, or at least taking into consideration, is that those A-class properties, like new builds, are getting tax credits and they're doing affordable housing, which you mentioned, and their rents are ridiculously low for A-class properties. You know,
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what it's called. I think it's like LIHTRC or something like that.
LITEC.
But yeah, something around the around that. But the issue with that is, you might get into bed with the city for 30 years, right? So it's a true long-term play. And then they also have control over, the amount of people who need to be on affordable housing. So taxes might not go up, but you don't really have much upside because they're going to tell you how much you can increase it by, and it won't be much. And if the city that you're in is appreciating higher than the rent increases for the housing authorities, that's loss to lease, right? You're losing money, but this is just more of a secure method. So it just kind of depends on the criteria that you're looking for and that you want. And right now, I don't think that's necessarily something for us, especially since we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and to switch over to something completely new like that, that's not an easy transition versus maybe going to development where it's different. But once it's built, we kind of know how it works. Or mobile homes, right? There's different aspects of it, but at the end of the day, you can still judge it off of rents and T12s, et cetera. So
yeah. And but it is a competition for us, which we need to consider. Mark was saying, our partner and property manager was saying that, we can't, if they're charging 700, 680 for a one bed apartment in a brand new complex, there's no way we can beat that. I mean, we got to beat 1100, and Section 8 is even paying 1113. So it's hard to compete with that, but it also constrains them, as you're saying, as the owner of that property, because they have to maintain a certain level of, like, a certain percentage of people at that price point, let's say 25%. And then do the A-class people that are paying full rent want to live with these low income restrictions? I mean, there's 25% of the people going to be at 35K median income or less, right? I mean, this is just something that all has to be considered. But from our perspective, a competition perspective, it is a competition for us for sure. They're stealing our funds.
yeah, so everything you said, I've been thinking about heavily lately. Because, like, let's say all the criteria that you want is there: population growth, job diversity, it doesn't, an increasing population as well consistently from the past years and the years to come, because you can actually call the county or city and you can ask them what their projections are because they have to plan for infrastructure for that. But I would A class apartments, I would say they rule the market. And the only reason why I say that is because as soon as they lower their prices, B class and C class, of course they want to live in a nicer place, especially if they can afford it. The issue is not everyone's necessarily educated on why apartments do concessions or why apartments are lowering their rents. For us as investors, we're looking at that as, oh, they can't get things rented, or there's a change in the market. For people who are just renting or don't think that they can invest themselves, they see that just as an opportunity. It's like, oh, looky here, my lease is about to be up, and they're leasing, a 3-bed, 2-bath for $400 less than normal. I can spend an extra $100. But what they don't know is this is just temporary because as soon as the market corrects, they're going to raise their rents and they're moving again. And now they're out in the streets. And then once the market corrects as well, it's going to be more competition. So the B class and the C class property is going to raise. And now they're stuck in an A class or they're going to move out. And it's just a big cycle. So, like I said, A class apartments, I feel like they rule the market because as soon as they lower, they can get anybody that they want inside their apartments if they really want to.
It's so true. And what I've been preaching and we've been talking about on our calls is this day and age, just get people in the door, get people in, heads in beds, they say, right? We don't have to
Yeah.
we don't have to have the premium rents yet, but because it's like, let's say we wanted to increase rents when times are better and people are making a little bit more money and people have a more secure job. It's easier to increase rents then, let's say, push it $100 instead of trying to get that $100 up front today, because once somebody's living there, right, it's hard to move. It's a pain in the butt to get up, pack up, find a new place to live that's cheaper, and move there. It's not easy. So rent renewals are so much more important today and for the next year or two than new leases, in my opinion. But we got to get people in the door for those new leases. It just might not be at market rent today.
For sure. I would say this is where it comes to processes and tenant relationship, right? I think, big investors, they can't build that, personal, I'd say personal, but personal relationship to make the tenants want to stay. They rely on the property managers who have hundreds or maybe even thousands of properties that they manage. For us, we see the change in the market. We're in a C class, so we don't have necessarily the resources that A class apartments have. So with us, we can just make sure that, okay, when there's a maintenance issue, that we take care of it immediately, right? People have been complaining about, a parking lot per se, for years. And we come in, and if we're raising rents, well, we're showing them, hey, we hear you, we're fixing this. We're raising our rents, but we are showing you the value for it. So I think it's a tenant retention is very important, like you said, in making sure that we're doing the things or just doing the right thing. Um, Helps with that tenant retention and people not moving, especially when now people have plenty of options, especially when these A class apartments don't see the occupancy like they used to.
True. It's so true. And the improvements that we're making on that property, the 16 unit that we're doing that with the parking lot right now and the windows, I mean, they're actually they're a necessity for insurance. And the previous owner owned the property and might not have had insurance on their property because they owned it outright and we seller financed from them. So now
Mhm.
that guy is driving by and seeing what we're doing is probably so excited because we're hooking up his property, making it look better.
Oh yeah, and then he owns the, the land next to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he would want to buy it back. But that'd be good. But because I know I've seen him at the like talking with neighbors next to the property because he's just like looking at it and seeing what's been going on. So I think I have a decent relationship with him and that neighbor. So you never know what the future beholds. So make friends with everybody, be nice to everybody, because I think that's also a reason why we got the property to begin with, because we built that trust. We were there quick, and um, we were honest. And you want to tell the world a little bit about how you do your underwriting and negotiate. You tell them you tell them why we're at that price, and this is not just like a lowball offer or anything. This is just a fair offer based off what we have to do.
Exactly. And so just back to that underwriting thing. So fans out there, listeners, Emeka just went to look at a property. He does this all the time. And then he'll call me on his way when he's there or on his way back and share some videos, notes, and things like that, either on the phone first, and then he'll pop it in the like a Google Drive folder that we'll share. And I do some quick underwriting. So like within 5 minutes, I got like a decent enough underwriting to where I feel like we have some sort of grounds, some sort of offer that we can make, although I'm not totally there yet. So, Emeka, talk a little bit about the improvements that you need, because you are heavy on the fact that we need a big capex budget, and I punched in a solid capex budget, and then I'll talk about how I kind of factored into the capex budget.
Yeah, so on its number one, we didn't have any of the financials that we need. So when we're looking at properties, or when I'm looking at properties, and when Nico's underwriting, we have to know, okay, how many units there are, what units are rented, what are vacant, and then what expenses do they have. At least those basic items, so we can kind of have an understanding of what the property, how the property is doing, because that's what banks care about. But while I was walking around, I can also see, there's plenty of things that need to be done, right? I call Nico, like, hey, like I just talked to a tenant who was outside smoking, and I just popped a question like, hey, how's it going? She's like, oh, you want to look in? I said, yeah. And then next thing you know, she goes on about everything, right? She said she's lived there for like 22 years, I guess, and she's had a leaky roof the entire time, right? That's insane. right? And then if I go there and there's a literal trash bag like stuck in a roof, I guess to try to block the water. And you don't need to be a contractor to understand that that's not how it's done. And then there's another like tarp covering the side of one building, and another building is all boarded up. So without financials and without figuring out what they've done or what they paid for maintenance or any capex things, I'm assuming the worst because if I can't go inside the unit and actually see with my own eyes, how old the water heaters are, the ages of the appliances, then I'm assuming that they're all about to go out. And I'm sure Nico can talk about how he underwrites for that because I told him, hey, look, I called him today. I was like, hey, heavy lift. No, there's going to be multiple roofs that need to be changed. There's some siding that's coming off. We can't get into all the units, but out of so and so many units, there's only like less than half of them that's renovated. So
Awesome. Yeah. So what I do real quick is I assume so. Anytime we have a capex budget, we're going to be anywhere from like 8,000 minimum. If they say that this is a turnkey property, I'm going to put 8,000 a door minimum because there's always going to be something. And then I max out around 20 to 22-ish thousand a door. And that's what I have in this one. I have 22,000 a door, and it's based on renovating all units at 16,000 a unit, which is a hefty budget. And we don't even have to renovate all units, right? I could drop that number. And then I just put $120,000 outdoor for exterior capex. And that'll definitely cover 3 roofs and some more items. And I don't know what else there is. There might be septic issues, right? But I think that there might be septic issues. There might be trees to trim. Sorry, that's my bell going off. There might be trees to trim. There might be like grading issues. We might need a fence. We might need a lot of different things. So a budget from around a minimum of 8,000 a door to a maximum of around 20 to 22-ish a door is what I'd like to budget at. And then we can dial it in as we're getting closer with negotiations. But this is my initial budget, 22,000 a door, 22,600 comes out to 408,000 for these 18 units. Pretty hefty budget.
yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely reasonable, especially since summer's approaching as well. That's something that you got to look at because contractors typically get very busy during the summers in Florida. And what they do is, we have to wait multiple months or they increase their prices to get in sooner. So I think there's a lot of other smaller things that people don't think about, but also we don't have information. So this is what we have to budget for to be safe, especially if we're doing syndications, because we have people who are putting their retirement and relying on us to make that retirement grow. So you never want to be aggressive. You rather walk on a deal than just get a deal to say you got a deal.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you and I and the rest of our team talked about changing how we forecast our vacancy and loss to lease and delinquencies and things like that. So I'm looking here. I used to get on year 2 or 3 on my P&L. I used to come to about 4 or 5% vacancy, which was the market norm. Today, I have it at 10% throughout the hold period of vacancy, which makes a huge impact on income. Same thing with delinquency, loss to lease, et cetera. I have it at a minimum of 2%, where in the past it could have been 1 to 1.5. But right now I keep it, and even in like lower income areas, I leave it at 3% through the hold period because those lower income areas, the C class or C minus or even D class tenants can't pay their rent all the time and delinquencies happen. We're seeing it on our 44 unit. In an area like this, though, even though it is a mobile home park and the build is all over the place and it's strange, the income in this area is significant to where that the delinquency might not be a huge issue. So I'm leaving it at 2% at starting year 3, but I still have a 10% vacancy, which is taking down our income significantly.
Oh yeah, and there's things to consider too. Just we don't know what we don't know, and once we get the paperwork, we'll know a lot more. But if they're getting market rents at the quality of the product they're getting now, that's huge upside. And then especially if their price doesn't make sense with how big our capex budget is, You want to talk more about like seller financing and how to try to not necessarily make it work, but make it make sense, at least for our standpoint, and how that kind of changes the way you underwrite?
Absolutely. And it's funny, this property, interestingly enough, one of the reasons why I really looked at it and said, let's go for it, because we look at a ton of deals. And we're not close on this one, guys. We're just kind of we're showing you how we initially look at things. But why I initially like this one is because when you look at the sales history, like I pull up the tax information, this was purchased in 2020 for like 400 and something thousand. It is very likely that there is little to no mortgage on this, meaning there is possibly an opportunity for seller finance.
Paid
However,
off.
yeah, I'm not going to jump in there and say, "Hey, yo, can we seller finance this thing?" No, we start negotiating and see what the owner says with traditional financing, and if he or she is willing to negotiate with us, we can talk. And it's like we're kind of close on price. We can then discuss maybe seller financing if they're open to it, and then we can give on price that they want, but take on terms. Meaning, let's drop that interest rate significantly. Let's have an interest only period of 5+ years, right? Things that we can do to make everybody feel happy in the end.
Oh yeah, and seller financing is great for someone who owns it outright. Whenever I'm visiting these properties, I'm trying to get as much detailed information that I can get. I straight up ask why are they selling, and they don't need to. His kids are graduated. They said that the property's paid off. And he wants to focus on flipping and developing. They literally had a bunch of shipping containers there just filled with material that they would take because he wants to start developing. So it's one of those things where if he's making so much a month, he might not be as motivated. But then again, what Nathan could do when you're going to start financing, and he's the expert negotiator, but there's so many things you can go in it. Knowing that, well, if he sells, he's going to get the tax hit. So if he's trying to build, maybe he just requires a certain down payment to get him started around the area. There's a lot of different things and angles come at it too. So yeah, yeah. Are you excited
Yeah,
about this one, Nico? What are you thinking after your underwriting?
I'm always excited, but I don't like it yet. But that doesn't mean it's a no-go, right? How can we make it work is how I'm always thinking. So, we don't have financials like you mentioned. We don't have T12s. I don't even have the unit mix, right? So I was going through the tax assessor's website now to see what building has what square footage and kind of estimating the unit mix. But regardless of that, something that is interesting and that I like about this area is the millage rate. So I go to the tax assessor's website. Some of them have like they'll give you the millage rate, or some of them give you like a tax estimator. This one had both. So anyway, the taxes in Tampa proper are significantly higher. So the millage rate in Tampa is let's call it 1.9 or 2 or 2.1, meaning you're probably going to be around anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 a door in taxes, whereas here millage rate is 1.47. That is so low in a significantly higher income area. It's great. So the taxes here are only 1144 a door if per year, as opposed to 1,500 or 2,000 a door per year if we were to pay full asking price. Now, if we drop the price, it's even cheaper. That being said, I did not do enough research on insurance because I don't know what it's like to insure wood frame 1970s build, and there's some build on there that says 1945, et cetera. What I have to do after this call is call my insurance guy and get an estimate. And if you guys don't have an insurance guy that'll give you an estimate like today, you need a new insurance guy. I know it's hard to do, and I know it's a pain in the butt, but if they're going through all these crazy details, then they don't know what they're doing. My guy just needs basically the year built, square footage in the area, and he can, and the building construction type, and he will get me an estimate like on the phone.
No, that's good. How do you find you're a good insurance guy?
I shopped around a bunch, but there are some great ones down in Florida, and the guys at Franklin Street are phenomenal. And I have them, and I have the guys I have my guy Bill Waters, who is also phenomenal. They compete against each other. I feel bad that I pit them against each other, but they really do things. Bill even took me down on his, he flew me in his airplane when I went down there on a airplane. He took me in his boat, like a great guy, good guy to know. He's always sending me songs in the morning of inspiration. Just a lot of fun, and they're responsive and they're quick and they work hard and they've been in the game for forever. So I like that.
All right, so um, the deal, the deal. What's going in your head? We don't have the financials. We do all the paperwork that we need. After you talk to the bill and he gives you the information to put in your underwriting tool, what's next for you? What's going in your head?
Yeah, so then we're going to tweak numbers a little bit. I need to know if we like, I need to know the unit mix. I need to know whether or not we're going to be doing a utility bill back or who pays what utilities. It's so important. I can,
Tenants
like,
pay water.
great.
It's city water. And there's two septics on there.
Two septic
And
tanks.
there's two septic tanks, yes. And then she did not know if they were working or not. So the owner, I guess, lives across the country 6 months out of the year. So it's like a 12-hour difference right now.
Gotcha.
So most of the listing agents' communication is like at like 3 a.m. So, but yeah, the tenants pay water. Obviously, the owner pays the trash and septic maintenance.
Okay. Okay. So that I'm adjusting things as you're talking right now, and that means I'm going to assume we will have a very small amount of rubs, even though it's a higher income area, because they're going to be paying their they're going to be paying the water bill. So let's call it. Oh, you know what? If electric is going to be 55 tip. So here's a tip for you guys. Try to find out what the standard electric is per month, per unit. We're at around 55 to 85 a door per month. So here I'm going to put in 50. I'll just leave $50 in rubs to cover that, to cover 90% of the electric bill. Okay. And then now I really have to dial in that insurance number. Right now I have it at a really high number at 2000. And then our management fee, if we're going to have Mark, I'm going to adjust it right now. Let's assume we're going to have Mark, our buddy, manage it at 5.5%. And then our repairs, maintenance, and turns. I used to underwrite this for 700, 750 a door. That's been wrong. We're closer to 1,000 a door. So I'm just going to leave it at 1,000 a door a year. This is an older property. It's not new. And even though we're going to go in there and do a lot of work to it, it still might be that we have a lot of maintenance going on. So I'm going to leave that number to be conservative. And then our general and admin is always around 75 a door, and that's an easy one. And that's it. So contract services, I put 350, which is going to be like 200-ish, 350 a door a year, which will be around 200-ish for pest control. And then the remainder would be like landscaping or groundskeeping.
Yeah, I couldn't see. I was looking for the flood zone. I couldn't. Oh, it's there. It is. X. That's exactly what we're looking for. One thing I need to call the county because I want to see if there's any future use of this land. I would assume there is. Basically meaning that like the zoning change because what I know like in Arbondale, I was doing some DTS. I was talking with the mobile homeowner. And then once I talked to the county, they were like, no, we're planning on just having this strictly commercial, no more multifamily, just like strictly commercial businesses. And that's typically what happens when you have like a bunch of commercial buildings or future development. And there's that one owner who just probably owns it outright and doesn't have to sell. And that's what the city tries to push them to sell. So I guess we need to figure out exactly what C3 means. I assume it's commercial zone 3, but I don't I don't know what that is at all. So that's something to do just in case for future use. If we wanted to sell it to a developer, there has to be a likelihood that they can do something with it. And if they can't, they're going to say no. So that's another thing that goes into the exit, especially if that's who I would think this deal would sell to personally, unless you think otherwise.
Yep. No, I agree. And back to your comment about insurance. So when you, he just, guys, he just found that it's flood zone X. If it is an actual flood zone in Florida, you have to budget 2,000 to 2,500 a door a year. Since it's flood zone X, I'm going on my high estimate of 1,800 a door a year. We pay about 1,000 a door a year. 1,800 is very high, and I'm going to leave it at that for now, just to see if it works, and then work backwards and take that number down as I get better quotes. So right now, based on all the information that Emeka gave me, and I don't have the rents dialed in at all yet. I'm at a very low rent number. I'm at an offer of 1.35 million. They turned down a 1.3 million, Emeka says, and I have a 30% down, and I'm at a 4.5% interest rate and 5 years of interest only, amortization 30. So this is assuming it will be seller financing. If we had to do a traditional loan, I would punch in 7.5%, 35% down, 6 months of IO, 25 years amortization, and that would make my offer price change to about 1.2, maybe. Let me try that. Yeah, about 1.2 million offer price. So you can see the difference, 1.2 to 1.35, an extra 150,000 for the seller if they would be willing to hold the note. And we could even adjust that more. We could go up in this, Emeka. This is not necessarily, a bad deal. I went very low on rent, and I went very high on insurance. So
I'm honestly very shocked that we even got that high. But you just spent it. And I guess whenever you talk to Bill too, we're gonna have it even dialed in even more. I'm reading this, so it's 5 single and split houses, 13 trailers on 3.35 acres. So it's gonna be different kind of remodels.
for sure. Wait, we don't know who owns the trailers. That's important, because if it's
I specifically asked that. The owner owns the lot and the trailers because the owner bought it with it. So of course, I would assume we probably need some actual paperwork, because let's say we offer, if they accept, tenant wants to move and he or she is claiming that the trailer is theirs, because the tenant built a shed on the property too, like a legitimate shed, like a tough shed kind of thing. So, like, let's say when we, fix up the property and increase the value and make the tenants, have better conditions, and we raise the rents and they want to move, how does that shed, like, what happens to the shed?
Yeah. And it might not even be permitted, or it might not need to. We don't even know all these things. I was told, or I thought, and I could be wrong, that if the tenant owns the trailer, it's better because they then are responsible for like repairing it, and then if they wanted to buy a new one, they can buy a new one. But you just basically renting the land from them. Don't quote me on any of this. I'm not that certain about it. So
I heard that too, because I heard it's just less maintenance. So it's, they say if you're bored in real estate, I should say, with the property, then that's a good thing, because that means there's not much to do. Just obviously continue to do your due diligence with it. But I heard that too, and that's actually why I asked, because it's not like we do mobile homes every day, but I listen to Bug's podcast and I hear it, but I was like, wait a minute, I really hope that he owns it, but he does, and yeah, this is just new for us. But if we can make it work, right? It's all in the numbers at the end of the day, right? It's not emotional. So,
totally.
and people in Florida actually remodel mobile homes just like regular houses too. So I deal with it all the time in my current W-2. It's a normal thing to do. So it's nothing out of character.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right. So our next steps would be I'm going to get on the phone with Bill to talk about insurance. I got to dial in. You started talking a little bit about what's on the property, because I got to dial in the actuals, like what the unit mix, and then I got to dial in rents, and then we're good to kind of solidify an offer. We could do it today.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to get that. I'm trying to see. Okay, yeah, I do have it. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready, man.
Size, quantity. So unit one. Oh, this is weird. Building 2-year type. it only has a square feet per unit.
Yeah, I saw that. So you can tell me the square footage. I'm going to write it down now, and then we can estimate how many, like what type of a unit it is.
Because because I went into a 2-1 today.
Okay.
So I want to say they're all 2-1s. And that was like 11. I do want to say they're all 2-1s.
We can assume that. However, I put the majority of them actually being one beds, getting the minimum rent that a one bed would get.
I got you. All right, so like, yeah, one of them 384 square feet. So I would assume that's probably a one bedroom bath.
Yeah, or a studio even. That's small.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
because I went to 2 units today actually. Because I talked to a tenant, so that might be right. That was a one bed, one bath. Like the living room, kitchen, and dining room were in the same room.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was smaller, but that was like a duplex. So yeah, 792 square, so mobile home. This is weird. Oh, I'll probably just have to text this to you because one says like detached garage. Oh, mobile home with a detached garage.
Yeah. What? It's okay. I'll pull it up on the. I downloaded the PDF from the county website of the tax information, and it's got all the square footage of the building. So I'll just do that.
Okay, it's here too. So because it says base area and then building square. Okay, yeah, building square feet. Yeah, I'll put on an Excel sheet and just send it to you so it's easier.
Beautiful. So what Emeka's going to do now? He's going to upload whatever videos and notes he has. We can all look at it, and then next step is going to be I'll come up with an offer within the hour, and we're going to start talking.
Oh yeah, and then they've listed it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They listed it 9 times since December 31st, 2022.
Damn. And they missed the boat. They probably had some decent offers when the time was right to sell. And now that what happens with the stubborn sellers, and this particular one is out of the country for 6 months out of the year, is they missed the boat.
Now get this. It was an expired listing, December 31st, 2022. And at that time it was 357 days in the market.
Wow.
For 1.5. And then they listed it the first of the year, the following year, so 2023 for 1.5. 2 months later, they listed it for 1.7. Then they went back down to 1.5 in March of 2023. And then they went back up 4 months later to 1.7.
Strange, huh?
Yeah,
That's
like,
interesting.
I don't
Oh,
know.
one last thing
There's,
I'm going to do. That's great information, man. It really is. One last, but it seems like the seller doesn't have to sell, and that's an issue always because if the seller's
if,
cash this, what does he need to sell it for? But one last thing that we always or usually do at this stage, or if even a little farther along, is we get a build facts report or pull permits from the county to see what work has been done. So a build facts report will give us all the work that has been done, or you can call the county, kind of get some permits that have been done.
oh, for sure. And I forgot to mention, they bought it in 2020 for 478.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
They,
and what was your rehab per unit for us? Like,
20 almost 23,000 total. That's interior and exterior. So we spend more from like 8,000 to a maximum of 15,000 on interior renovating.
yeah, so I just did some math right here. So they bought it in 2020 for 478. Um, you just told me the number per unit. I times it, but let's say with our projections of how much it costs per unit to fix it up, with their 7 units, it would cost them $161,000. So
Yeah.
plus that with how much they bought it for, $639,000 that they're in, and they're asking for 1.7. So that's a difference of 1.061. So 1,061,000.
Yep.
And then how much is the realtor fees? 6%? Because ours is charging us 3%.
It could be, well, they'll split it. It's like a co-broker fee. So it'll be like 4% and they'll probably split it 3 and 1. Our guy will get 1, the other guy will get 3 or so.
Or so that's 40. So let's say closing cost is 10% of that. I mean, he's still going to be making
$1 million.
eight.
It seems like he wants to cash out $1 million. It makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does. But with seller financing, I mean, he can cash out. If we put 30% down of 1.35, yeah, 405. I mean, you can do a lot with that, especially doing flips.
Yeah, we can negotiate that too. If he needs $500K down, we can do that, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly. But all right, I appreciate Nico. Things about to end soon. But yeah, that's great. I think the audience is gonna love it.
This is so fun, Emeka. Thank you, my man.
We'll be back.
All right. Hey, Small Axe community. I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smalaxecommunities.com. Book a call with me. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.